for calling the Mutual UFO Network. Due to the high volume of calls we receive, we highly recommend you check our website at www.mufon.com. To report a UFO sighting, or for questions about a sighting you have already reported, please press 1. To report an abduction experience, please press 2.
How you doing, Jersey? Welcome to the Star Ledger Newsroom, Tuesday, April 28th. Well, it's being called the Great UFO Hoax of 2009. Two men launched flares attached to helium balloons into the sky over Morris County several times over the winter, prompted a huge deluge of 9/11 calls, media coverage, and a big buzz. People were wondering if aliens were scoping out real estate in New Jersey.
It's a bird, it's a plane. No, mysterious sightings.
A strange sight. Red blinking lights could be seen across Morris County, New Jersey last night.
Conventional aircraft under the federal aviation regulations, the FARs, are required to have a red light on the left wingtip.
All right, are these just lights in the sky or something more? Veteran pilot Paul Hurley captured these lights on tape just hovering above his backyard in Whippany, New Jersey.
They are the most credible, believable UFO guests I think I've ever seen.
Now, on April Fool's Day, appropriately enough, the two guys behind this whole thing, Joe Rudy and Chris Russo, came forward with an article in Skeptics magazine explaining how they did this and why they did it. Prosecutors, however, didn't think it was so funny. They slapped them with a $250 fine. They have to perform community service. All right, now the whole court case is behind them, but the fallout from this thing continues. In the UFO community, that's the community of UFO believers, they can't stand these guys. A lot of anger aimed at them. Meanwhile, the skeptics community, these guys are getting speaking engagements and becoming little mini celebrities. Yesterday, I returned to the scene of the balloon launch in Morris County, where they gave me the first interview since their big UFO hoax. Check it out.
One of the things that I thought was kind of lost in your story was the fact, people did a coverage of your court case. A lot of things, you got a lot of coverage for the story, but one of the things I thought was lost was that it worked, right?
It did, absolutely. It worked. And unfortunately, some of the message was lost when they were discussing the legal issues involved with it. But we did get our point across. We're very confident with what.
And your point was what?
Point was to teach rational thinking. Some people thought we were trying to poke fun at people that believed in the supernatural, whether it be UFOs or anything else. But our point was just to teach critical thinking, and this was specifically aimed at a certain few people. Say the people on UFO hunters that play on people's gullibility and say this is the real deal, these are real extraterrestrial craft flying around, when in fact it was flares. They said it could not be flares.
Police say the unidentified flying object was nothing more than flares, a theory UFO hunters has already tested and proven implausible.
What was your reaction when you read that? You must have been laughing your head off.
Well, I mean, we thought it was funny, but at the same time, we said this is perfect. Joe and I looked at each other and said this is the point we're trying to prove. We set out from the get-go saying this is the point we want to show, to teach rational thinking. And here's someone that's coming out who's well respected. He's got all these credentials behind him, and he basically let two 20-somethings fool him.
These lights are moving without any independent movement. They look rigid. And look at this.
Yes.
You could almost make out a frame in here.
That's right.
Yeah. So what does that say about any other expert in the field that goes out there and tells people, yes, this is this, and you can apply that to anything, whether it's psychic ability, whether it's spiritual mediums, anything. Just because someone's an expert doesn't really mean anything.
How did you come up with this idea? How did two guys sitting around say, let's go deep in the woods and launch some balloons? I mean, have you done stuff like this before?
No, Chris and I kind of have a similar way of thinking, and where we think that pseudoscience is silly, and the people that exploit the pseudosciences are doing it just for that reason, to exploit people. We knew Bill Burns' background, and we saw how respected he was, and we wanted to show people that he's not as reliable a source as, say, you or anybody else would be on extraterrestrials visiting us.
People want to believe in UFOs, though, right? They see lights in the skies. There's certain people seem to want to believe it.
It makes life more interesting. It's more fun to believe that we're being visited by alien spacecraft as opposed to a couple of hoaxers out there putting flares on balloons. It's more fun to believe that someone's talking to your lost loved one as opposed to believe that's just someone throwing buzzwords at you until something hits and making you think that you're talking to your lost father or any lost loved one. So it's human nature to believe in amazing things. Humans have been doing it since the beginning of time, whether it be dragons or whether it be flying saucers or anything.
Now, you guys were charged, you were brought into court because they said this was a threat to aviation. Now, now's the one thing. Couldn't you guys have hurt somebody with this? Couldn't somebody have been killed?
Well, there's probably close to 1 in a billion chance that one of our balloons would have taken down a plane, but we understand how the authorities and the bureaucrats have to approach things like this. If there's any chance at all, they have to take action, and we understood they were probably make an example out of us so no one would do this the following week. So we get all that. We took several precautions to make sure that the safety of our project was at the highest. We did it on specific nights when there was snow on the ground. We accounted for wind and things like that.
How far are we? We're at the scene of the crime right now, so to speak. How far are we from the airport?
How far would you say, Chris?
I'd say about 2 miles, give or take.
The judge laid into you guys, saying you guys could have really hurt somebody with this.
Well, the judge seemed like the judge in Morris Plains was concentrating more on the 911 calls that were flooding in, saying that what if there was a real emergency? And again, that's something we understand. We're not going to argue with the fine they imposed on us or anything like that. The one thing that we both were in disagreement with was the fact that they called it immature.
And I think they were very foolish to do this. They have jeopardized, possibly could have jeopardized the lives of other people and certainly put themselves in prison. So I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they were drinking too much beer.
They compared it to something a couple of 17-year-olds would do. And the fact is, there was nothing immature about what we did. We were out there to prove a point, and as a matter of fact, 17-year-olds probably wouldn't do something like this because it takes a maturity level to do something like this. And with the I think
the 17-year-olds are the ones responsible for all the Bush and Coors beer cans around.
They could be. It wasn't us. I can promise you this wasn't us. But the most important thing is, which Joe will concur with me here, is that it was not meant to be a prank. It was meant as a social experiment to show gullibility, not to poke fun at people who are gullible, because we're all gullible from time to time, but to go after the people that take advantage of human gullibility.
Police say these sightings may be a helium balloon with flares attached to it, but so far, no concrete answer.
Even right from the beginning, the police said flares on balloons, but what we found so astonishing was nobody was listening. The news stories were asking people, do you think this is a UFO? Yes, yes.
Sort of streaked down toward New York, and the final one just kind of disappeared.
Really?
You know, it could be aliens. Kudos to the police for nailing it. But we just couldn't believe that they were comparing it to War of the Worlds. Are we being visited by extraterrestrials?
Which was a hoax.
Correct. That's right. It was a big hoax, ladies and gentlemen.
You have these conspiracy theorists out there saying that we're part of an elaborate government cover-up, that we're government agents or paid by the government to say that this was a hoax and take credit for the hoax, that way to steer people away from the real truth behind it. And obviously the real truth is what we just told you, but there's conspiracy theorists out there that even after we prove to you with documented footage that it was a hoax, that still say that we're part of this elaborate government cover-up and we're the men in black, possibly.
The truth is you're a robot, right? There's a switch.
Exactly.
There's a switch
Bring it
back
back.
here
You
somewhere.
gotta
There it
get
is.
it
I
back
found the
here.
switch. I found the switch.
So it's it's crazy. But again, like Joe said earlier, people are going to want to believe what they want to believe, no matter what kind of evidence you give them. Sometimes you can only convince so many people. But even if we get through to one person, so in the future when they look up in the sky and see a strange light, or they say go to a psychic and the psychic's telling them about their future, maybe they'll take a step back and say, you know what? Maybe they'll think about the hoax we did and say it's possible.
It's possible that there's two guys sitting around launching balloons.
It's possible two guys sitting around launching balloons, and then they'll just use a little more of a skeptical mindset. And you apply that to anything in life, you'll be better off. If you're a skeptical thinker, you'll be better off in life.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
I do have a call out to Bill Burns. He is the publisher of UFO Magazine and the host of UFO Hunters, who you saw in that video clip. Now, he says he's filming and he's going to get back to me. As soon as he does, I will post his response on the Ledger Live blog page. That's NJ.com/LedgerLive. Until then, I want to hear from you. What do you think of these guys? Was this a ridiculous, dangerous stunt, or were these guys teaching us all kind of a little lesson that we should heed? I want to hear from you again. Ledger Live at star@ledger.com. You can also log on and sound off on the news blogs at NJ.com. All right, Jersey, take it easy.